About the new junior cycle, and I suppose since many of us were in school and did the traditional junior cert, there have been many changes. So what we're going to look at this evening is what are our students going to experience in the new junior cycle, and what is the structure of the new junior cycle, the subjects, short courses, well-being, and other areas of learning. They are the main changes to the new curriculum. And then we're going to look at the types of assessments and reporting. So instead of a formal end of 3-year cycle exam, there are a number of, I suppose, signposts for assessments throughout the 3-year cycle. And finally, then, what will the end junior certificate, which is now called the Junior Cycle Profile Achievement, what will that look like? And what will be reported on that? So they're the kind of 5 areas that we're going to look at this evening. I'm going to look at the first 3, and then Miss O'Keefe is going to look at the last 2. So what exactly will our students experience? So I suppose the new junior cycle, one of the main aims is we're going to connect the primary school curriculum with the new secondary school curriculum. It is traditionally the primary school curriculum would have been a lot more, I suppose, active learning. And the new junior cycle curriculum is trying to catch up with that. We're settling in. So first year, particularly for first year students, will be settling in and making progress in first year. Second year is a much more purposeful second year. And there are a lot more assessments in second year then, ongoing assessments and support to support learning. So instead of just the end of the 3-year cycle exam, we will have a number of what we call classroom-based assessments, the first of which happens in second year, which I'm sure many of our second year parents have heard about this week. And then finally, one of the key principles of the new junior cycle is to support literacy and numeracy for all, and that should be supported throughout all of the subjects. It is not just for English and maths now. In all of the subjects, they will be looking at promoting and enhancing literacy and numeracy. So what is the purpose of education in junior cycle? The main things are that we want to help students become better learners and develop a love of learning. And that includes, I suppose, them taking control of their own learning, of them becoming more investigated learners, and for them to become more reflective learners. So there will be an awful lot of looking at what they've learned, how they learn best, and applying those things. And it's to provide a solid foundation for further study. And a lot of the principles in the new junior cycle are principles that will be used for research topics in the Leaving Cert, but also it's very much like an experience that you would have at college. So it's preparing them with a set of skills as well as knowledge that they can take into life, to develop skills for learning and life. And then finally, to support learning through improved reporting to both students and parents. And it's about a new way of reporting, that we're not just reporting, I suppose, traditional academic, verbal and written intelligence, that we're allowing much more varied types of intelligence to be learned as well, like maybe oral presentations, practical subjects. All of that is going to be taken to the new junior cycle. I had a lovely video ready for you, and it is a lovely kind of 3-minute video on the experience of the new junior cycle. But I'm not going to show it tonight because when we did a test run, it wouldn't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it onto the website for you. And if you go to the website, under curriculum, you see a tab for junior cycle. We'll place it in there. So I'm just going to skip on. So up to now, there's been a phased introduction. So in 2016, we had English, Science and Business. Students that began school in 2017 would have done English, Science, Business Studies, Irish, Art, Craft and Design, Modern Languages, Wellbeing. 2018 had a selection of, I suppose, some more option subjects came in. So if you had a child that started school an older child in the previous years, they might have done a selection of new junior cycle and traditional junior certificate. However, everyone here would have started in September 2019 or would have started this year in September 2020. So as of the last 2 years, all subjects are included. This includes woodwork, metalwork, technical graphics. So all of your main subjects that your students will be suffering or will be studying will be doing the new junior cycle. Also, we have what we call other areas of learning. And what these other areas of learning are, traditionally, I suppose, in school, we only measured academics. And we all know that school is much more than academics. It is equally about, I suppose, your own personal development, your development as a citizen of the world, and your social and emotional intelligence. And I suppose the contribution that you make to school, whether it's on the sports team, the debating team, you might have showed leadership. And the new junior cycle measures that, celebrates that, and records that. So in the end certificate, which is now the junior cycle profile of achievement, all of those things are recorded on there so that it gives a more balanced overview of what your child has achieved in junior cycle. The school can offer level 2 learning programs. And what these are, level 2 learning programs are, it's a kind of a curriculum that runs parallel to the junior cycle. And they are for students who have mild or moderate learning needs. And that usually are students who have had an assessment and have, I suppose, been identified as that. They would do smaller modules. So instead of doing English, they might do a small communication module, or they might do a small writing module that runs parallel, I suppose, to the traditional curriculum. Schools can also offer short courses. So what are the key messages from the framework for junior cycle? It's flexible program for student learning. There's a balance between knowledge and skills. So it's not about always what we learn, it's the way we learn. And it's gathering the skills in order to research knowledge, use the knowledge that we have, and to get the best out of that knowledge. So it's dual, it's about learning knowledge and skills. A dual approach to assessment. And what that means is that we have an end of the three-year cycle assessment that usually happens in June. But we also have 2 classroom-based assessments. And these are small little projects that happen in second year. One happens in second year and one happens in third year. And they try to, I suppose, measure a varied number of skills. Reporting on a broader picture of learning. The students' well-being is central to the framework, and students actually have well-being as a subject on their timetable now. State Examinations Commission will continue to be involved in the assessment for certification. So while there are classroom-based assessments that the teachers who know them best measure their skills, the state exams also create, I suppose, a standardization across the whole country so that each school is working towards standard. What's improving? It's a better and more engaging learning experience for your child, and a much more fun. Updated subject specifications, and that means the curriculums have been updated. They're much more modern. You're going to see a lot of maybe videos and a lot more visual learning and engagement with a variety of texts as well. Quality reporting back to the parents and students. Assessment to support learning. So instead of just finding out at the end of third year that where your child might be, you will be able to gauge by second year in the classroom-based assessment, again in third year to do a classroom-based assessment before Christmas. And you will have the results of those so that you can gauge as you go where your child is in the learning, I suppose, journey. An emphasis on key skills and preparation for life. And a sound preparation for learning at senior cycle and beyond. Okay, along with the knowledge, probably one of the biggest changes to the new junior cycle is the idea of these key skills. And there are 10 key skills at the center of all of the subjects. And these key skills are, I suppose, reflected both in the classroom-based assessment, but also the exam. So they are asked to do things within the questions. So they are being literate, managing myself, which is organization, and reflecting on themselves as a person, staying well, managing information and thinking. So I suppose instead of, and naturally some students might be good at organizing information, picking out key pieces of information. This now becomes a skill that is taught. Being numerate, again, all subjects have to look at numeracy and look at, I suppose, foundations of maths within their subject. Being creative, all subjects will give them, I suppose, the freedom to bring their own interests into it. And again, that comes into the classroom-based assessment. Working with others, there are key components where they will have to work with others and produce group projects, communicating and keeping literate. So those key skills are taught throughout all of the subjects, and they're examined socially through the examination process as well. And so there's a change in culture of assessment. Assessment is there to support learning. It's not there just to test what learning has happened. Assessment is focused on offering effective feedback. So at key stages throughout the 3-year cycle, there are now stages where your child will get feedback from the teachers. They can build on that feedback then to improve their learning as they go forward. And that's important. There's greater variety of assessment activities. There's continuous assessment in the classroom-based assessments, and then the final exam. And even as you go through that, you'll see a variety. Say for science, they have to do, in second year, they have to do an experiment, while in English, they have to do an oral presentation. In business studies, they have to do I think it's a financial account. And in, for example, history, they learn about the history of their local area. And there's an awful lot based around, I suppose, building students' confidence and confidence in presenting. Teachers talking to teachers about assessments. So when the classroom-based assessments are done, the teachers all sit down and I suppose talk about assessments, talk about quality assessment, and I suppose we'll look at each other's students in each other's classes and compare, I suppose, what is a good quality answer. And then from that, I suppose that leads to good feedback to your student. Your child will be involved in reviewing feedback and identifying what they have done well. Huge emphasis on reflecting on their own learning throughout. Identifying what to do next, setting and achieving personal goals, drafting and redrafting, correcting their own work, giving feedback to themselves and to others, considering examples of good work and identifying how they can improve their own work. So it's really, really essential that they become reflective learners. And I suppose that they are engaged in their own learning all along. So assessment subjects. Exams will be set, held and marked by the State Exams Commission in the June of 3rd year. English, Irish and Maths are specified at higher and ordinary level. So students can sit either higher or ordinary depending on their ability. But all other subjects now have a common level. And the duration of all exams is about 2 hours or less. So these long traditional exams have now been are done. One subject journey. So for example, in each subject, there will be a transition period from primary to secondary. In first year, there's ongoing assessment. So supported by the teacher and their peers. In 3rd year, we have our there's ongoing assessment as well. So you will have your Christmas and summer assessments at the end of 1st year, at the end of 2nd year. In 3rd year, you'll have class tests, but you'll also have a check-in, which is our classroom-based assessment. So we call that our CBA2. That happens between September and January of 3rd year. The only subject that doesn't do a classroom-based assessment in 2nd year is Irish. They do both their classroom-based assessments in 3rd year, one before Christmas and one after Christmas. And then the final check-in is the final assessment. However, after the check-in of the classroom-based assessment, so we have 2 classroom-based assessments, and after classroom-based assessment 2 in 3rd year, we have a assessment task. Now that assessment task is based on your classroom-based assessment and is worth about 10% of the final exam. So ongoing assessment that supports learning. So what is a classroom-based assessment? A classroom-based assessment will provide students with opportunities to demonstrate their understanding and skills in a way which not be possible in a formal exam. Again, we're talking about the presentation skills, the oral skills, the group work skills to they can show their personality. The tasks will cover a broad range of activities, including oral presentations, written work of different types, practical or designing, making activities, artistic performances, scientific experiments, projects, and other suitable tasks. A particular purpose of the classroom-based assessment will be to facilitate development feedback to students. And probably the most important thing about the classroom-based assessment is the students' ability to choose. And in all of these classroom-based assessments, they are allowed to choose usually a topic that is of interest to them, something they love, something that they enjoy investigating. The classroom-based assessment runs over a usually 3 to 4 week window. And home economics is the only one that runs 8 to 10 weeks because there's a sewing activity. So most of them are 3 weeks, with the exception, I think, of business studies, which is 4. So the first week is usually an investigation week where they do a lot of their research, independent research. The second week is usually the writing up of the activity or the project. And then the third week is usually a presentation piece where they practice their skills. So that's usually the way it works. And in between week 2 and 3, there's usually room within the classroom to practice, and they can show their teacher, and the teacher gives them feedback and pointers to improve. So that is usually the 3-week cycle, particularly for second years. Third years are slightly different, but it always runs on a 3 to 4 week cycle. The assessment task. So the assessment task happens then after your classroom-based assessment in third year, so your CBA 2. It is worth 10% of the final exam. So the assessment task is worth 10%, and then your exam that happens at the end of third year is worth 90%. So the assessment task, this is the written assignment task is marked by the State Exams Commission. It may require the students to demonstrate an understanding of the knowledge and skills developed during the second classroom-based assessment, and that is nearly always true. So they will do their classroom-based assessment in third year. After that, they do this task, and it's kind of a reflection task, and it's a task where you apply skills, and it is usually based on their third classroom-based assessment. The written assessment task may also provide an opportunity for students to refer to skills and competencies that were developed and and to describe ways in which their learning might be applied to new situations. Again, I suppose becoming reflective learners, and they're assessing that skill. The assessment task will be completed in class under the supervision of the teacher and will be sent to the State Exams Commission for marking along with the script for that subject in the state certified exam. So in June, once they sit their final exam, the assessment tasks are added and both papers are sent off together and corrected by the State Exams Commission. So well-being. Well-being then is, I suppose, one, it's a subject on its own, but it's more of a philosophy of the new junior cycle. And it is putting the child at the center of the new junior cycle and putting their emotional, spiritual, and physical development as I suppose, the priority of the new junior cycle. So well-being as a subject involves physical education, social, personal, and health education, including relationship and sexuality education. There's civic, social, and political education, which used to be CSPE, and guidance. So they will all come in under the umbrella of well-being. There's a certain amount of hours that they need to have. So why does well-being matter? Student well-being is present when the students realize their abilities, take care of their physical well-being, can cope with the normal stresses of life, and have a sense of purpose and belonging to a wider community. And I suppose going through the present pandemic, we all see the need for well-being, and I suppose the importance of knowing how to take care of our well-being. And I suppose they are a skill set that need to be taught and may in the past have been overlooked in the traditional junior certificate. And I suppose teaching those skills to our young people during the junior cycle gives them a toolkit later in life that they can pull on should they need. So that is one of the key learning principles of the junior cycle. We then have learning to L2 LPs, so level 2 learning programs. And who are they designed for? They're designed for learners with a low, mild, and high moderate learning disability. It's a very, very small number of students in our community. And I suppose the parents would know before they come into us and would be in contact with our special educational team if this was, I suppose, a program that was suitable to your child. And if there is anyone that has any, I suppose, query about it, Miss Fiona Behan is our deputy principal dealing with, I suppose, our SEN department. So the special needs of the child is such as to prevent him from accessing some or all of the subjects and short courses on offer at junior cycle. So if the traditional junior cycle is not within, is not suitable to the child, there are other, I suppose, smaller programs that run alongside the junior cycle. What are our level 2 learning programs? There are 5 priority learning units. Each priority learning unit focuses on developing the social, personal, and pre-vocational skills that prepare students for further study, for work, and for life. They are communication and literacy, numeracy, personal care, living in the community, and preparing for work. And they can also do 2 short courses. Assessment, the level 2 learning programs, they are school-based, all of them. They are reported as achieved if the learning outcomes is the priority learning unit have been achieved. And all priority learning units are short courses that have been achieved will appear on the junior cycle profile achievement. So regardless of whether you're doing the junior cycle or you're doing a learning to, level 2 learning program, both students equally get the certificate, the exact same certificate at the end, with whatever modules they have done on that certificate. So ensuring quality. After all this, the assessments have been done, schools will organise subject learning and assessment reviews, and it's what we call SLAR meetings. So after this in-school assessment, which are classroom-based assessment 1, which happens in second year between Christmas and June, or there's classroom-based assessment 2, which happens in third year between September and December. The teachers hold quality meetings. So they are called subject learning and assessment review meetings. This involves all of the teachers come together. They will compare their assessment of students' work and ensure a common approach across the school, so that all of the teachers will come and agree on the standards of work. They will compare their students' work to each other, and they will make sure that there is equality across the grading system within the school. Now, this is done through, I suppose, the Department of Education have issued, I suppose, standards, and I suppose features of quality that have to be achieved in each of the grades. And the teachers sit down with those and I suppose evaluate whether students have reached that level or not. Training is provided for the teachers to ensure that the classroom-based assessment align to national standards. Reporting will happen in first, second, and third year. First year reporting will focus on student learning and self-development. So that is just, they will just have their Christmas exams and their summer exams, and they'll have a number maybe of small projects in between that prepare them for their second year classroom-based assessment. Second and third year reporting will include the classroom-based assessments that will form part of the junior cycle profile of achievement, and then a 10% of the final exam is going to be the reflection task. Steps towards the junior cycle profile achievement. Classroom-based assessments of subjects will be completed in second and third year. Subjects will sit written state exams prepared in June, and schools will report on student engagement and participation in the other areas of learning section on the junior cycle profile of achievement. And the other areas of learning are those areas of the curriculum that I said that aren't normally reflected. They are your soccer, your football, your leadership. The junior cycle profile achievement will report on state exams, CBAs, the learning profiles, and the other areas of learning. So I'm going to hand over now to Miss O'Keefe, and she's going to talk you through the junior cycle profile of achievement.
Hi everyone. So what's displayed here is what the junior cycle profile of achievement is. So what your student or what your child is going to get at the end of their junior cycle is a certificate that looks like this. Okay, so you're going to have three main elements to it. So the first one here is the state exam. So this is including the 10% for the CBA reflection and the 90% for the exam that they would usually sit at the end of their junior cycle. Then and the grades, instead of getting A, B, C, Ds, they're actually going to get distinction, merits, pass, or achieved. And then on the classroom-based assessments to the right, okay, so this is the CBAs that they did in second year and in third year. So the possible results that they'd get here would be, say, above expectations, in line with expectations, where they should be getting, it's the minimum that they kind of should be getting, or if have yet to meet expectations. The PLUs would also be shown in here for the L2, LP students. And then down at the bottom here is the other areas of learning. So this would be the likes of if they are part of their sporting community, if in the school, they'd put in a statement here. And that's all spelled out, and the school helps them with coming up with those statements in their junior cycle year, in their final year. So that's what the certificate looks like. There's just a little bit of a close up here. So you see here with the English and the distinction. No, that's fine. It's just to show you that there's a difference here. With English was distinction, but for yourselves, it's all going to be distinction, merit, and so on. You won't see the usual A, B, C, D. That was just for the transition into it.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so the state exams, this is the results that I had mentioned earlier. So it's not an A, B, C, or D. It's going to be a distinction, a higher merit, a merit, achieved, partially achieved, or not graded. And so that's for the exams and the 10% reflection on the CBA. And then for your CBA, it's going to be exceptional, above expectations, in line with expectations, yet to meet, and not reported. So not reported will be the not doing it. Yet to meet, they have, for each subject, there's a specific set of targets they need. So the teacher will inform the students of that. And then in their project or whatever task it might be, they'll be aware of it and will hopefully meet those expectations, or better still, get above or exceptional. Okay, so this is just a close-up of our other areas of learning. And then, so we have our extracurricular here, but we also have, like, if you see here, just leadership training, activities relating to guidance, any part of membership of clubs or societies, or debating, anything that they are a part of that's adding to their school life, they can put into other areas of learning. That can be shown then when they're looking for employment. It'd be excellent for them to see that in their junior cycle, they were able to improve these skills. I know I wasn't given the opportunity in school, so it's great for students these days to be given such an opportunity. Okay.
Sorry, George.
And yeah, no, you can go on there. So again, this is just recapping on the purpose of the new junior cycle. It helps the students become better learners and develop a love of learning. Okay, it provides a solid foundation for further study. So I think in that regard, my very first presentation I ever did was my first year in college. So it was quite daunting, and it would have been nice when we were younger to be given the skills. Like, it was literally, here, do a presentation on this, and now you were standing up in front of a room full of your peers. So to be developed that, and even if in school, you know, we're doing it as a group or even individually, it's a brilliant skill to have, or experience for students to have. Okay, so to develop skills for learning in life. And I think a big one here would be the teamwork and skills. Again, I didn't get any opportunity in school for teamwork, but once you're hitting college, so it's with the new junior cycle, it is developing students these skills that will help them when they're getting their degrees. and then support learning through improved reporting to both students and parents.
Thanks, Ms. O'Keefe. I suppose
Thank
I'm going
you.
to jump back here. I'm going to exit out this for a second and see if I can come back up here just to this one here. Yeah, and I suppose the main thing for, I suppose, parents and students to understand and to be aware of is that, sorry, it'll take just a second to load now again, is that when you're doing your classroom-based assessment, very often when the young people find out here of a classroom-based assessment, they think that it is just another in-school exam. But as you can see here under classroom-based assessment, each of the classroom-based assessments, so like, for example, they are starting maths at the moment, and each of their maths assessments will appear there like a subject in its own right. So you will have your English or your maths, and then say for here we have our English, and then we have our oral communication, which is our oral presentation, and then we're going to have our collection of texts, which is a selection of essays that they write in third year. And both of those subjects appear as a full exam in their own right. And that's important because when we come to them doing some of the activities, they do find them hard. So like the oral presentations and the Spanish and the French oral exam is difficult, and there may be, I suppose, a knee-jerk reaction to not want to do it. But I suppose it is important to remember that it does appear as a full subject, and even if they make any attempt, that there will be some sort of grading there for them, and that is quite important, I suppose, to remember. We have a few other things to show you. I'm just going to show you briefly. We have a number of I'm going to show you for a second. We have a number of leaflets that we're going to put on our website. So the first one is the junior cycle information for parents of post-primary kids. That goes through everything that you need. It'll go through all of the grading systems, what a CBA is, and it goes through the key skills and everything. That is on our website. Another good handout that we have is this junior cycle ongoing assessment and reporting. That deals specific with the different type of assessments your child will be experiencing, and that is on the website also. And finally, there's a little poster, if I can open my thing. Well, yeah, and this is a good poster to put on your fridge. And it deals with, or it explains the different assessment moments, and I suppose what happens in year 1, what happens in year 2, and what happens in year 3. And you can find all of those, if I can move this out of the way, on the website and under curriculum and under KTCS at ktcs.ie. Okay. And then finally, we do have a draft timetable, which I'm going to share with you now quickly. So at the moment, we are in the middle of, I suppose, coming up with a timetable for the CBAs. Traditionally, the CBAs start in January and run right through till May for second years. And I know many second year parents on here at the moment. So we're in the process, we just finished today, of coming up with a draft timetable of how we're going to fit the CBAs between now and when the end of May. And usually what happens is the second year classroom-based assessment then becomes their final year exam in second year. So if they do a classroom-based assessment, traditionally they don't do an end of year exam at the end of second year. Now, however, because of the pandemic and because of the school closures last year, our present third years have had curriculum concessions. And what that means is they have changed the number of assessments they have to do. And instead of doing 2 CBAs, they only had to do 1. Our present second years, we have heard no guidance from the department yet on if there is going to be curricular assessments or concessions or not. It may be, it may not. So at present, we are working as normal as if there are going to be no changes. However, in the coming weeks, we are hoping that there will be some guidance from the department. Okay, so it is going to be, the timetable will go up tomorrow. It is a draft timetable. It may completely change if guidance comes from the department. Okay, and So some of them have started already, and I'm just going to quickly share that one with you for a second, just see a quick look at it. So this is what it's going to look at the moment. So we're proposing that maths will start this week. It'll run for the 3-week period of the 1st of March to the 19th of March for our second years. Business and engineering will start next week, and it runs from the 8th to the 26th. And I actually think that business studies needs 4 weeks, so it's probably will end the week after. Then we have woodwork, technology and music, and running from the 15th of March to the 2nd of April. From the 22nd of March to the 26th of March, religion is going to start the research part of their topic. They have to do research, a religious person, and then do a presentation on it. And it just suits better to do the presentation when we come back after Easter. After Easter, then the second years will have a very heavy timetable. And the main reason for this is that most of the subjects that you see after Easter have a presentation element to their classroom-based assessment. And it's just very unfair, the teachers feel, for them to have to do that presentation over a Zoom when there's no audience and there's no really engagement. It's just quite difficult. So from the 12th of April to the 30th of April, we're proposing that you do technical graphics, French and Spanish. And again, I suppose it's the choice. Students will either do French or Spanish. From the 19th of April to the 7th of May, they will be doing history, religion. From the 26th of April to the 14th of May, they will be doing science. And then from the 3rd of May to about the 21st or the 14th of May, they'll be doing English. Art has been running all along. That can be completed up to 3 months. So they've been working on that, but there is a classroom-based element to that. Home economics needs 8 to 10 weeks. So it is unlikely that home economics will be done this year, regardless of any information coming from the Department of Education, because they won't have enough time when they come back after Easter. There's only about 7 weeks, and they won't get it done in time. So that's where we sit with the classroom-based assessments, the end-of-year assessments, and I suppose the change in the way the junior cycle is taught. I realize it's been a marathon. We have thrown a lot of information at you. And I suppose there's a lot to digest. I will put my presentation up at the end of, by tomorrow. It'll be up on the website. And I suppose if anyone has any, sound keeps disappearing, any questions, pop them into the chat now, because I realize that my Wi-Fi is a little bit broken. So if you've missed anything or you've misunderstood anything, please pop it into the chat now.
Okay, Mr. Halloran, thanks for that. There is there's a couple of questions that have come in and they've come directly to me, so I will answer those questions and I'll read out some of the questions that have come in. Now, can I just emphasize the calendar that Mr. Halloran has just presented? That is just a draft one at the moment. There may be curriculum concessions that we're unaware of. Okay, for example, we're living in an era at the moment where the priority for the department at the moment is the Leaving Certs and what's happening with those. And even just tonight, before we came onto the call, there was lots of dates and deadlines for the current Leaving Certs, which are dates and deadlines for even next week. So there's lots of things happening, obviously late at night, and things being put in place to, so their priority is with the Leaving Certs, where we are mindful that we don't want the current second years to be in a place where next year they have to do the CBAs that they missed out on in second year, in third year, if there's no curriculum concessions. So we are putting a kind of a draft plan together to make sure that we're mitigating any kind of onslaught of CBAs that need to be done for the students. So a question came in, which is a really, really good question, is that the amount of CBAs that some parents are, not familiar with them, is an experience that they're not used to, and asking the kids to do all these CBAs at home while they're remote learning. And it's a really, really good statement, or a really good response. That's something I'm going to take on board if you're a second year parent and you haven't, because every subject will be slightly different. So what I will do is I'll take that back and we'll see what we can do in relation to that. So one of the questions that come in, it's a definite concern I would have about CBAs in the amount of time they take to do. There is no clear differentiation for students with SEN. A lot of the CBAs have been given during lockdown when the students have never done CBAs before. CBAs are new to most parents, so we can't give enough guidance. Our experience so far has been one of stress with CBAs, to be honest. The variety of expectations from different subjects is hard to understand and to explain to our children. I feel here is a huge variety of clarification or lack of it from teachers as to what is expected to CBAs and given feedback and guidance. Now, looking at that draft timetable, I will have a conversation with the leadership team tomorrow, and any CBAs that are coming on stream in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks, if that is that draft timetable that's going ahead, we will make sure that we will put something in place to support the students and to support the parents at home in relation to if it is, for example, a business CBA, or if it's an English CBA, or if it's whatever the CBA may be. There needs to be some sort of support. The reason we're doing it is we don't want the kids to be disadvantaged, and when they come back into face-to-face teaching, they're faced with nothing but a kind of a tsunami of CBAs. Okay, so that's part of the reason. Now, if you look at the certificate of achievement, it's looking at the holistic development of a child. It's looking at their extracurricular. It's looking at, you know, not putting all of their eggs into one basket like a traditional junior cert or group cert for some of us that may have done that, that it is an exam at the end. So the level of anxieties that kids get at the end, the department is moving towards a more holistic development of the child, and that certificate then displays that holistic development. But the important thing in that is that, look, trying to deliver that in a pandemic when everybody is at home for new parents in, we'll say, second year that have never done before is a very, very difficult thing. But then on top of that, where do we sit in relation to that priority? We, as locally and in KTCS, we're trying to mitigate any of those issues. But maybe the department's kind of priority at the moment is kind of leaving certs, it's junior certs, it's things like that. So we want to make sure that we're not losing sight of the parents and the students that are in the other year groups that need to be getting the information. We would prefer to be doing this in the GPA in school some evening, and anyone that had any questions, we could go through those flyers and those information with you, and we would have examples work to be able to display to you and stuff like that. But unfortunately, we're not where we want to be at the moment.
Sir, I'll just jump in there now.
In relation to the CBAs and that parent has messaged. And look, I have a reference of that, and we will address it. Okay. All right. The next question that came in is, as a parent of a child already gone through the CBAs, can I just comment on them by saying there seems to be an awful lot of work going to be done for a maximum of 10%. It is not suited to a child who is shy, quiet, or intimidated by standing up and doing presentations, where we find it quite stressful. And look, that's, you know, in fairness, I generally do think that the new junior cycle is moving towards the holistic development of a child. If somebody is nervous and doesn't want to stand up, there are things that Mr. Halloran has kind of made reference to in relation to mitigating anybody that is shy, or maybe someone that has SEN needs, that they don't want to get up and they can't do it. But again, like Ms. O'Keefe said, that the first time that she did a presentation when she was in college, when she was 18 or 19, I think this brings a whole holistic different kind of skill set to the end of the junior cycle. And look, it's just not ideal to be doing it for new parents that have never gone kind of through it before in the pandemic when we're working from home.
Sorry, Mr. Hayes, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
The CBAs are not worth 10%. The classroom-based assessment are worth 100%. They are like a separate subject on their own. So it is worth 100% of the grade. So instead of having one assessment, you now have 3 assessments that all equal 100%. You have your classroom-based assessment 1, your classroom-based assessment 2, and the end of year exam. All of those have equal merit now. The 10% is for a reflection piece that happens in third year. So there are 4 assessments. There are classroom-based assessment 1, classroom-based assessment 2, the 10% that happens in third year, and then your final exam. So there is a lot of marks going for it. And I suppose, yes, it seems it's quite stressful now, but what I would kind of remind you of, you've been hit with this information now. The first week is hard because the students are told to go away and to research, but what they're researching is what's of interest to them. And that seems like a lot of work to do at home on their own. But week 2 of the classroom-based assessment is scaffolded by the teacher. The teacher helps them write it up, helps them prepare it, gives them guidance. But week 1 is very much allowing them to choose what they want to do and to go home and to do research on the internet to find out what their topic of interest is, usually. So that's where I suppose you might feel that you're being left on your own, but the teachers will guide you on this.
Mr. Halloran, can you clarify that in relation to the CBAs and the assessment task at the end? The assessment task is worth 10%, which is a reflection on the CBAs. Okay, can you do the assessment task? Is there a requirement for the CBAs to be done before you do the assessment task?
Yeah, traditionally, the assessment task is based on the CBA you do in 3rd year. However, if with the present 3rd years, they don't have to do it because they only did 1 assessment. So the assessment task is linked to the CBA in 3rd year, but it is separate. There's 10% and then you get 100% for the CBA. They're 2 separate assessments.
And the assessment task is more of a kind of reflection on that CBA, is that correct?
Yes. It's more about them reflecting on their learning, what they learned, what they did well, what they didn't do well, those sort of things.
And so the assessment task isn't actually something where you'll be rote learning something. It's about the experience and your reflection on how you did the CBA. So I think that's important for students to know, and for parents, that it's not a kind of something that you learn off and you kind of just you regurgitate it out. It's about the experience of the CBA.
Yeah, and what they have learned about themselves and about their, it's examining their personal development and how well they are developing personally as they go through the curriculum.
And that's what's worth the 10%.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay. Another question is coming here. There has been 7 CBAs set to be submitted before Easter. Is this to be replaced class work? Otherwise, it is a massive amount of work or workload for students.
There isn't 7 CBAs set before Easter. There are, there's 3 core subjects, which is geography, maths, and then there's business, engineering, woodwork, and music. But those subjects are all along the same option line. So most students wouldn't be doing all of those subjects. So you might do business studies, but you can't do business studies, woodwork, and music. Try to make it so that the max anyone would be doing before Easter is about 3 or 2 at least. And then, yes, there's an awful lot after Easter, but that's because they will be back in school with the support of their teachers and with access to their teachers. And we've kind of deliberately, I suppose, scattered it in that way.
Okay. Can you tell us what percentage of the results are given to each CBA and to each exam itself? Well, we've kind of touched on that. The CBAs are out of 100%, and then the assessment task for each subject is worth 10%, right? Okay, good question is coming here. Will the 2nd years have a summer exam? So a summative exam at the end of the year. So for example, we would traditionally do summer assessments at the end of the year. Any 2nd years that are doing CBAs or doing assessment tasks will not be doing summer assessments. Okay, so they will not be sitting in the sports hall in a classroom doing summer assessments. The CBA. Okay. And
I suppose there is I suppose a key principle of the new junior cycle is not to overassess. And year after year, we find that parents find it difficult to see that they're not getting an assessment at the end of 2nd year. But it's so that they're not overassessed, and we're allowing assessment of a load of different skills.
Okay, the next question: who do I contact in relation to L2LP? Now. Miss Bean is the deputy principal in charge of SEN at the school and of the Acorn Centre. So if you have any questions in relation to the L2LP, Miss Bean would be your contact. Okay, and Miss Bean is in the call today. So Miss Bean, if you want to unmute yourself and say hello.
Yeah, hello everyone, and I am Deputy Principal for Special Education Needs in the school, and if you had any questions or queries about that, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me. But the L2LPs are very much for your MGLD to your moderate level need, and they're level 2, like level 3 is junior cycle. So often we would have had these conversations with the 1st or 2nd year parent already, but you're more than welcome to get in touch with me. And just as a parent of a third year student myself, I just want to emphasise as a parent, I know there's an awful lot to digest and take aboard tonight, but the things that I would find very helpful would be to print off that timetable and certainly print off the 2 leaflets that Ms. O'Halloran is going to have on the website, because you're hearing a lot tonight, but having an opportunity to read back through those 2 junior cycle leaflets will be a huge help to you. And it is a new way of thinking, because all of us come from an education background where there was terminal exams. And so we're even getting used to that there won't be, say, maybe second year exams for summer. This is all this continuous assessment going on. It's a way of a change of thinking for all of us as parents as well. I very complimentary about the junior cycle as it gets set in stone over the years ahead. There's 400 hours of well-being now being provided for our young people now, which will do great things to promote resilience and positive health for them going forward. And that the department have actually put all of the other areas of learning and supporting the holistic development is a very, very welcome thing. So there's lots and lots of positives. I very much appreciate there's a lot to get our heads around. But print off the leaflets, read through the leaflets, and we'll all be more than welcome to answer any questions. I know it's extra difficult while we're doing remotely, but we're here to help you, and we will do that as well.
Okay, Mr. O'Halloran, there's a question here to determine, and I'm not too sure in what it's, to determine if higher level for maths, English or Irish, how is this done and when?
For the junior cycle.
I presume so, yeah.
Yeah, so on the run up to the junior, so you will already be assigned to higher and ordinary if you're in second year. So if you're at the end of first year, there is a common exam set for all maths. And from that, the maths teachers then will divide the students into higher and ordinary according to, I suppose, the results on that. They will also bring into account their Cat 4 tests, which are their entrance tests, and I suppose their abilities on that. And at the beginning of second year, they're usually divided into higher and ordinary. So by the beginning of second year, you will have an idea of where you're set. And as you go through second year, then there is the, I suppose, the option, if you're finding the higher level too hard, to move down at a later date. And coming in around the mocks, which happen around February of third year, that is usually after the mocks of the February third year is when the decisions are made. So the CBAs are done the same regardless of whether you're in higher or ordinary. It's the same kind type of assessment that is done.
Okay, and then Ms. O'Keefe, you might, for example, in maths, for example, the competency-based test, isn't that done in first year?
Yeah, there's at the start of the year, there's a competency-based test that would be used as well and reflected on in the classes. So if, say, I'm sitting in front of a class and a lot of them came out with they're having trouble on fractions, I'll spend a lot more time on fractions, try and build up their skills on that, so that when it comes to the end of first year and they're doing their summer test, that hopefully they're equipped with the skills to do those tests. There's also the threshold, I think it's 60% is the threshold for the summer exam, which is common. So everyone's getting the same common test. It's not higher or ordinary level at the end of first year. And then usually it's 60% or greater does the higher level. And then and there's a lot of students, the majority of students end up doing higher level because, you know, in the school, there's a small minority and a couple of classes that will do ordinary level. And sometimes it's better to stay in ordinary level or to go up to higher level. It depends then on, if someone, say, got 55 and they want to do higher level, then we look at that and look at the student and engage with the student and the parents then on that. So it's not as straightforward as a simple threshold either.
And then as well that there is, for example, we do have resource, and resource isn't just targeted at kids that need the extra support. It's also targeted for the kids at the high end. So for example, we have targeted interventions. Now, we introduced targeted interventions last year and it was in its infancy last year. There's, like, for example, traditionally in schools, what would happen is that if I had an Irish exemption or whatever, or if I was, I wasn't doing Irish, or I had an exemption, or not an exemption, I wasn't doing a language or whatever. And if I was in a resource class, traditionally in a lot of schools across the country, what would happen, you could have kids that might have dyscalculia, kids that might be, foreign nationals, kids that might be dyslexic, that have them all in the one resource class. But we've moved away from that kind of system. And now we have a system that is, we've teachers in school that are kind of specialists in areas of dyslexia, dyscalculia, social emotional, those types of things. And we also have students then and a target intervention for the kids that are actually at the high end that are doing well. So for example, based on the CAT4 test, which is a cognitive test that they do on entry into the school, we look at those individual scores, which looks at the literary scores, looks at the numeracy scores, and where we see kids that need support and where we need to see kids that are kind of gifted and talented and need further pushing, we target them. So there's targeted intervention, and September of this year was the first time we really gave it some meat and really gave it a lot of kind of emphasis moving forward. And we had individual teachers that were targeting those interventions. But again, like, you know what I mean, we haven't kind of seen the fruition of that due to school closures and stuff like that. But we are dedicated to making sure that that continuum of support is in place for the high end achievers and also for the ones that need that extra support. And that it's
just to say that Irish is the only other subject that will classes will be divided into higher and ordinary in second year. So while English, Irish and maths, there's a higher and ordinary level paper. English kids will stay in their base classes the whole way through because the curriculum is the same for higher and ordinary, and they only then decide around mock time whether they're going to do the higher or ordinary. So it's just maths and Irish at the end of first year, and on the results of the first year exam, they are kind of then divided. But again, it's all in consultation with parents, and if there is parents that have concerns and want to give their child to have a chance, they're come in and talk to me and we'll put a plan in place.
Okay, another question here is on the slides, what's important slide, it lists reporting and feedback to parents and students. Can we please have more information on this? Again, I'm recording this presentation and we will get the slides up on the website as soon as we possibly can so people can get access to that. And again, based on what some people have said, that there's lots of CBAs coming to them while kids are in lockdown, and is there anything that we can do to support the parents and the students at home? And we will look into that first thing tomorrow morning on what we can do based on the draft timetable we've put together. And someone has requested that maybe the draft timetable is sent out to parents. Now, again, we're living in an era where, you know, there's been deadlines put in place tonight for Leaving Cert kids next week. And, you know, the priority, that's the information we got tonight at 6 o'clock or 6:15. And they need stuff that needs to be produced by next week, which is a little bit unfair and a little bit whatever, but we're not going to complain about it. We're going to do the best we can for the students, okay? And I just think in relation to the department, the priorities that they're dealing with at the moment isn't CBAs. I've been extremely stressful. This has been extremely stressful, overwhelming, as you can imagine. We only seem to see the CBA timetable for the first time now. Can this be sent out? Yeah, no support for parents. Again, I think I've addressed that, and we will support you based on the CBAs that are coming online as soon as possible.
Sorry, sir, if I can interrupt. Yeah. And I might be to my screen now. If you go into our website, ktcs.ie, there is a whole page there that has links to all of all of the JCT information that you need. So if you go into ATCS website, on the top you'll see curriculum. In there, junior cycle. There are links to the website, everything that you need. So all on the website, and there's loads of information for parents. The 2 leaflets that I was talking about, particularly the one on assessment, they're specifically designed for parents, and all of the information you need will be there. And of course, email me if there's anything confusing, and we'll put as many supports in as we can.
Okay, Mr. Halloran, another question here for you. And when students are told to work in groups or pairs for CBA, is each child still graded on their own work or what is presented as a group?
Yes, so each child will receive their own individual grade for the classroom-based assessment. However, their engagement with the group is usually one of the descriptors for achievement. Yeah. So for example, if I was doing a group presentation, my research skills, my actual work in the presentation would be examined, but also how I engaged with the group. and how I supported the group. So it's not just a finished product of knowledge, it's also your skills that are important.
Okay.
Can I just come in on the CBAs? It is still, I've checked the JCT, and it is still the guidelines that we are to try and continue with the CBAs in second year. So it's, the school is trying to do what we're being told to do, say by the department, but hopefully they will see that we may only have to do one CBA, which might relieve a little bit of stress on the students for next year. But maybe, and hopefully we'll get that information before Easter. But unfortunately, that is the guidelines at the minute, is to actually continue doing the CBAs.
But in relation to CBAs, there has been curriculum concessions put in place this academic year for third years. Okay. So parents of second years need to be mindful of that. So again, when I talk about the department's kind of priorities, their priorities were Leaving Certs, Junior Certs, and straight away they made curriculum concessions for the current Junior Certs, where they had to complete 2, now they only have to do 1. Okay, so just be mindful that these concessions have happened for third years. Okay, so we're hoping, but we're planning to do what we've been told currently. A good one here. Have the teachers looked at the likes of Flipgrid, Flipgrid, where students can record their own presentations privately?
And we looked at Flipgrid with and a few other motives, an interactive one as well. And a lot of the presentations, I suppose, in the descriptors, particularly for English, I'm an English teacher myself. And one of the major key things in order to improve your grade is your ability to engage with the audience. And to pre-record a piece, I suppose, that's very hard to measure from the teacher from a recording when there's no audience. So like you have to use your body language, your engagement, and to look at pre-record a piece with a computer, and they're just find a little bit difficult. But yeah, we're constantly upgrading our technology, and I will mention that to our ICT team to go back to and maybe try and kind of promote with the teachers. So anyone that has any suggestions like that, I'm open to them. Send me an email.
Okay, so next question is, so if I'm doing 3 CBAs, what percentage goes to the Junior Cert results?
None. So the Junior Cert, it will appear on the Junior cycle. So say, for example, you usually have English, you will have English, and your end of year exam will appear, but beside that will be CBA 1 and the grade you get, CBA 2 and the grade you get. So do you want me to go up to the report and show them again?
Yeah, it might be sensible. Yeah.
Okay, so just give me a second and I'll just find it here. Okay. So here's it. Sorry now. Just take a few minutes for it to load. So you will get 2 sets of results on your Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this one here. I'm only going to show you one. So when you get your Junior Cycle Profile of Achievement, on the left-hand side, State Certified Final Exams. They are the exams you get in June, and all of your results for the exams you get in June will appear there. Right beside them, you will have a separate section for classroom-based assessments, which is your CBA. And each of those appears for each of the subjects that you will do. So the classroom-based assessments are 100%. And they appear right beside it. So for example, if I was studying, say, English in college, I could study different types, modules of English. I might have Shakespeare English, I might have poetry, I might have something else. And they would be separate subjects on their own, even though they're under the umbrella of English. And it's similar like that. You have your full exam, which appears on the left-hand side. Then you have your 2 classroom-based assessments. They equal, both classroom-based assessments are separate exams on their own. So you kind of want to think of it that instead of having 1 exam in English, you now have 3. that are worth 100%. You have your end of year exam and your classroom-based assessments, and each of those 3 exams are worth 100%. The end of the 10% is for a small reflection task that happens in the middle of the year. That is completely different to the classroom-based assessment.
Okay, there's two people have given it to me in 2 different forms, which I think you've answered the question already, but it's really, really good. So if I just get the 2, I'll get one of them up first. And okay, one is, okay, I've done a CBA. I've got 100% in the CBA. If that graded by itself, and then they do the cert exam. So there's 3 things. Okay? So there's the CBA, they get 100%, they do the written exam, and then they get 10% for the final assessment reflection piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then someone else has kind of given it to me in a kind of a different kind of a format. Can you help me understand this with an example, right? So I achieve 60% in my first CBA in French, and then I get in my second CBA, I get 90%. And I get 50% in the final exam, and I get 50% in the assessment task.
Okay, so you would get in your CBA 1, you would get, or your first CBA, you get a merit because you got 60%. The next CBA you did, you got a 90%, so you're going to get an exceptional, is what it's called. And then in your end of year exam, you get 50%, so you're going to get in line with expectations. Sorry, and a merit as well. So they're graded separately. You get 3 different results on your exam, on your certificate.
Okay. I hope that clears that up. Okay. How do you pay for the Cat 4 test? The Cat 4 test would have been done. You're either a first year or second year. If you haven't done the Cat 4 test, I think Miss Urell, as the guidance counsellor, was making sure that everyone had completed the Cat 4 tests. So they would have been done on entry into the school. I know we're a bit late doing it this year. We normally do it with the cohort in May, when they're in 6th class. But we were late doing them this year because of lockdown and stuff with the current first years. But if you've missed it, when we come back to school, you need to make yourself available to Miss Urell, who's the guidance counsellor, because Miss Urell has the responsibility of making sure that all first years do the Cat 4 test. Now, you do the Cat 4 test at first year, that gets you from first year to third year. Then at the end of third year, you do another Cat 4 test. You do a different type of one, is the Cat 4F. And that will give you a kind of a report based on options and kind of selection of senior cycle choices before you go from the senior cycle to the junior cycle to the senior cycle. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Unfortunately, okay, right. And then the reflection assessment mark is 10% of what?
Of the final exam. So the exam you do at the end of third year is only worth 90%. And the reflection task then is the other 10%.
So just to clarify, does that mean that there will be 4 results for each subject in the junior cert? Yeah,
No.
and they'll be marked separately. Yeah.
On the certificate, only 3 results will appear because the reflection task, which is 10%, we hold on to that in the school. And when the students do their final exam at the end of third year, we put the 2 of them, the examiner puts the 2 of them together and sends them off to the state exams, and they are corrected together as if they are one exam.
I think, you know, what's really important is for probably parents and students to familiarize themselves with the certificate of achievement. And I think being able to see the certificate of achievement, and on your one that you had there, Ms. O'Halloran, just had English in there. I think having, like, you know, English, Irish, maths, and seeing, like, the English was in purple. It had the exam that they did with the assessment inside it, and then the purple CBAs were over across on the right hand side of the page. I think if we saw that with other subjects, it would probably make it a little bit more clear. So maybe giving out a more detailed example maybe to parents and students would help. And now again, trying to do this remotely, from maybe 4 corners of the county or the country is difficult, and doing it probably on a screen inside the GPA in school would be more sensible and advantageous to all of you.
It would, and I suppose we're disadvantaged because last year there was no junior circle, or the junior cycle profile of achievements haven't arrived yet. So to get one with all the subjects on it from the junior JCT, it's just they're not on the website at the moment. So I will try and ring them tomorrow and get an up-to-date one. But they're just not there at the moment. They're not, because we're only going, you're the first, this present second years are the first group to do all of their subjects in the new junior cycle.
Yeah, so there's kind of there's a transition going on, and the timing of this transition isn't obviously ideal. And it's, look, I think 4 or 5 years down the road, if you have other siblings coming after, you'll be a kind of a master at what all of this means. It's probably just unfortunate, the timing of all of this, especially when we're not there in person, which is a little bit unfortunate. Now, just before we kind of finish up, I do want to introduce it, and you might say hello. And it's just because when we do parent-teacher meetings and stuff like that, and obviously we haven't been able to do them, and the parent-teacher meetings are now taking the form of a report. Now, since January onwards, there was timetables for 3 parent-teacher meetings. It was the first years, the second years, and the fifth years. Now, those reports will be on the VSWare system before we break up for Easter. Teachers have submitted them, and they're just going through the proofing stages at the moment. So there was dates, there was a deadline. I think it was first years on the 22nd of February. I know the deadline for the fifth years, I think it was the 1st, and the deadline 1st of March, and the deadline then for the second years was the 8th of March. So they were the deadlines for the reports, the parent-teacher meetings reports, which is what replaced the face-to-face parent-teacher meetings. So they will be going through the proofing stages, and they will be out on the VSWare, and you will get a text message to say when they're live on the VSWare, so you can go on and you can have a look at those. And anyone that has CBAs done, the results of those CBAs will obviously be on that report, will be available at the summative report at the end of the academic year. Okay. What else is there? I want to introduce you to, first of all, the first year head, who is Miss Thompson. Miss Thompson is here with us tonight, and she's just giving you a little wave, just in case if you're a first year parent, you're not sure who Miss Thompson is, because normally you would see her at the parent teacher meeting. But Miss Thompson, if you just want to say a quick hello.
Yeah, hi everybody. Just quickly for the first years, I'm sure tonight might have seemed a little bit overwhelming, but I'm just a big believer in just taking everything step by step. So if you're in first year and you're listening to this, I just think, work through the next couple of weeks and get us to Easter. And then, like Mr. Halloran said, we'll work from Easter then up until the summer exams, and we'll focus on those summative exams at the end. With regards to the second year, I know there's an awful lot of information that's given to you, and I'm also conscious that I teach quite a large number of you. A lot of my students are here tonight. And, my only advice to you is this, that if you have any queries as parents or as students, and you're hearing information about CBAs from either from myself or any other teacher, just go back to the teacher and ask them. Sometimes it's a lot simpler than you can imagine. And once you've gone through the process, you actually realize, oh, this isn't so bad. But at the moment, it probably appears overwhelming. Now, your kids are telling you little parts of the story, and you're trying to piece it all together. So my advice to you is, if you have the time, or if you just have a little worry, please email your teacher any queries that you have, and it can be so easily solved with a quick email response. And it genuinely isn't as daunting as you can imagine. We just need to get the process started. And of course, once we get back to school, everything is a lot easier when your teacher is standing there in front of you. But I know from my own personal experience, if you have any questions for me with regards to the history of religion, please feel free to give me a shout. Okay, thanks guys.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Thompson. And then our second year head is Mr. Rourke, and so Mr. Rourke is here with us as well. So Mr. Rourke, for any of the second years, if you want to say a quick hello so people can know who you are.
Hello guys, I hope you're all well and hope everything is going okay. And I'd be the same as Ms. Thompson. Look, at the CBAs are starting now. If you're stuck with any of them, contact your teacher, number 1 port to call. They will talk you through it. They're always willing to listen and support you through it, and give you information on how to go through it. So don't be panicked. A lot of you might be at home and getting stressed with workload. Tell the teachers, if you have CBAs and workload is a problem, talk to your teacher, let them know, and you'll work together. Like this is a work together solution. That's the only way it will happen. Talk to your teachers, email them, and let them know what's going on. And we'll sort all this stuff out together. It's a journey and it's a progress, and it'll only work if we all work together and communicate on what's going on, okay? And I'm always here. You can send me an email as well if there's any parent anxious or wants to get a message through to a teacher or anyone else. Just send me an email and I'll sort it out for you. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Mr. O'Rourke. So just to clarify, is what we will do following on from tonight's meeting, we will put all of the recording of this presentation, and we will also put the presentation and the information leaflets up online on the website. Once they're up online on the school website, we will send all first years and second year parents a text message and let the location of where those documents are so you can gain access to them. And then we will also, we will draft or redraft that draft timetable for the CBAs so you know when the CBAs are happening. And just be mindful that the CBAs, that there has been concessions for third years this year. Now, again, second years probably aren't a priority for the department at the moment, but is what we're trying to do is to mitigate any kind of increase in workload when they do come back. And if second years are at home now, it's a good opportunity to get some of the CBAs done. So that's the kind of rationale and the thinking behind it. Okay, so all of that information will be made available to you. And we will send a text message to the phones once we have. And then to finalize really in relation to the reopening of the school, we were back in school as of the 22nd of February with the special classes. And then on the 1st of March, which was Monday of this week, we had a very, very successful reopening with the 126 Leaving Certs that we have and the LCA students that we had. And so that happened on Monday. And went really, really well. So we've had a good week with the Leaving Certs back now. And then we have fifth years back. We have fifth years back on the 15th, which is a week on Monday. So the fifth years will be back. And then it'll be the Easter holidays, but there's a lot happening during the Easter holidays for Leaving Cert students in relation to orals, some practical stuff between now and then as well. And then all students will return after the Easter break on the 12th of April. So if you're first year, second year, or third year, the current guidelines is, and if the numbers keep going in the right direction, all the junior cycle classes will be back on Monday, the 12th of April. Okay. And I just wanted to say thanks to Ms. O'Halloran and Ms. O'Keefe that did a lot of planning and preparation for tonight. And, you know, it's a lot to take in and I appreciate that. It's a lot of information. And look, we'll take on board a lot of what was said tonight and try and get that information to you as quickly and swiftly as we can to support you on this journey. It's been a very high turnout tonight, which is great to see. That, you know, it's a triangulation process. It's the triangulation between the school, the student, and the home, and it'll only work if we're all working together. And as I say to the students and a lot of the students that are here tonight, we are a conversation school. And we talk about things when they're working well. We also talk about things when they're not working so well. And that the students of our school, it's not my school or Mr. Halloran's school or anyone else's school. It is our school, all of us together. And the students are equal stakeholders on the present and the future of the school. And they have a voice, and that voice should be heard. And we will make sure that they are part of the planning process in relation to CBAs and the future, let me say, the positive future development of the school. Okay, and they're in safe hands. Okay, so listen, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Is that your horse?
Yeah. I'll do it.
Guys, well, Jenny, well done. Lots of very positive comments coming back, so well done.
We'll talk later. So
Yeah. Okay, listen, sleep well and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
bye.
Take care, guys.
Dad,
Oh, wow.
that says beautiful.